Today's lesson, I'm going to be sharing with you an interesting story. It sounds almost like a gimmick, the yogi's breathing secret for peace and well-being. But it turns out to be true, and it's an interesting story. So let me begin by sharing that with you. A while back, quite a few years ago, scientists were curious to understand what yogis and gurus and monks could actually do and how they managed to cultivate a great sense of serenity and well-being. So they traveled to the east, they traveled to different cultures, different countries, and they hooked up these yogis with all sorts of different scientific gear. And they were amazed by the kinds of things that they could do. These yogis seem to be able to control all sorts of things that we would consider as automatic. Things like heart rate, they could speed them up and slow them down at will. They could change the body temperature in different parts of the body, like one hand gets hot while the other one stays cool, and they switched it around. One yogi could do it with ears, so one ear would get hot and then the other ear would get hot. There was even one yogi where they thought that his heart had stopped, but actually he'd changed the way his heart functioned so that the equipment can actually measure his heart rate, which was incredible. So they're able to do all these amazing things, but when they look at their autonomic nervous system, they're part of the sympathetic and parasympathetic, remember the stress system and the relaxation system, it was very flexible and very healthy as well. So they were very impressed by this. In fact, they found no kind of evidence of any of these yogis getting issues with hypertension. So they knew they were doing something good, something right, but it seemed very difficult. They seemed to be doing all sorts of difficult breathing exercises and all sorts of different types of meditation across different cultures. But then the scientists came up with a really clever question. They asked them all to do meditation where they cultivate a sense of well-being, a sense of peace, a sense of resilience. And whenever they did this, they found that their breathing rate always slowed down. It didn't matter which country, which type of religion, which culture, the breathing rate always slowed down. And the other amazing thing is it always slowed down to a specific rate, around 6 breaths per minute. Now, we normally breathe about 12 to 20 breaths per minute. That's normal. But it seems to be when these yogis, when these monks, gurus were meditating, they seemed to slow down their breathing to about this rate. And they always went to that almost exact same breathing rate. It was slightly different for different people, but it was always around 6 or 5.5 or 5 or 6.5 breaths per minute. And it always stayed at that rate for that person. So this really got the scientists interested. They're like, what's going on? Why is there something special about this breathing rate? And it turns out there is something special about it, and I'll share that in future lesson. But we're going to be learning how to breathe at this breathing rate. So you can see it's a little bit of a secret. Even the yogis themselves probably didn't know that there was this specific breathing rate that was happening across different cultures, across different practitioners. But we're going to match that, and I'm going to share with you in future lessons why this works so well. 6 breaths per minute means that you breathe in for 5 seconds and you breathe out for 5 seconds. So that's one breath cycle that takes 10 seconds. And so you can do 6 of those breath cycles in a minute. So that's why it's called 6 breaths per minute. 5 seconds breathing in and 5 seconds breathing out. To be able to do this yourself and to practice it, it's usually a good idea to use some sort of clock which has got a second hand on it. It could be a digital clock where you can see the seconds. Or you can use an app. There's apps like Paced Breathing, which I like to use. There's another one called I Breathe. I'll share a few of the others as well. But there's several apps, and most of them are free actually, and they help you to pace your breathing. So you might want to use those if you use a smartphone. Okay, so let's breathe at 6 breaths per minute. That's a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale. I'll count you in, and we can try it for a few cycles. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you get a little sense of it there, and I'll share an exercise for you to be able to practice it. When you do these exercises, breathe smoothly, breathe gently, and breathe diaphragmatically. So nice and smooth, do it gently. The mistake that most people make is they try to breathe too much. Take your time. Certainly breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through your nose too if you can. It's an easy way to do it. And my recommendation for you today is do this exercise for 5 minutes after you wake up in the morning. If you can, repeat it before lunch, maybe around 11 o'clock if you've got time to do it then. And then another key time is in the early afternoon between 3 and 5 p.m. See if you can find a time slot in which you can do this breathing exercise for 5 minutes. You can use a clock, you can use a timer, you can use an app, see what works for you. And remember to note how you feel before and after. You can write in your journal just a sentence or a few words, how you felt before, do the exercise. And if you noticed anything, you may not notice any difference, you may notice a slight difference. But also notice what happens over the next few hours. Do you find yourself being a bit more calmer, a bit more resilient, a bit more present, maybe a little bit less reactive? That'll be interesting to observe too. So that's the exercise. Breathe at a speed of 6 breaths per minute for 5 minutes, at least once a day, and if possible, do it 3 times a day. And if you can't even do the 5 minute, do 3 minutes, do 1 minute, just do one breath cycle if that's all you can do. Do the best you can.